I'm going to play for you a video clip of what Michael Wolff said Epstein told him was in the safe and what he showed the author was in this safe. Okay, so that's great. So wouldn't it be great if FBI subpoenaed the estate of Jeffrey Epstein for all that information?
The estate is under no obligation to provide that material, even pursuant to a subpoena. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's just false.
Okay.
That's just false. You're the FBI. You can subpoena the information from the estate, and you better do that.
Kash Patel walked into that hearing looking prepared. He had already sat through hours of questions. He knew the talking points. He knew what had been released and what had not. He had his answers lined up. Then Ted Lieu changed the rhythm. He did not bring out a stack of papers. He did not get lost in legal language. He pressed play on a video, and suddenly the whole hearing shifted. A journalist, a safe, a story about what Jeffrey Epstein may have kept hidden inside. What followed was not really about procedure or legal technicalities. It became about three things Patel could not answer clearly. A journalist with 100 hours of Epstein recordings the FBI may not have fully pursued. A safe full of photographs Patel said were not there. And a client list with 2 names he would not directly confirm or deny. 5 minutes, 3 unanswered questions, and a record that now carries all of it. Before we get into that, a quick note. We have covered the story before, but with new details now coming back into focus, there were still gaps that needed a deeper look. So this is an update. If you are new here, subscribe. We break these stories down as they develop without the noise.
Have you asked to talk to Michael Wolff?
You raise a great point. I haven't personally asked to talk to Michael Wolff.
Has the FBI asked?
But the FBI, I'll get back to you if the FBI specifically
so Michael Wolff has
ever.
About 100 hours of testimony of Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff?
I'm not saying they haven't. I just don't know.
Has FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff has conducted of Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
Ted Lieu represents California in the House of Representatives. Before entering politics, he served as a JAG officer in the United States Air Force, working as a military lawyer in a system where evasive answers do not get very far. He later rose to the rank of colonel in the Air Force Reserve before retiring in 2021. He holds degrees from Stanford and Georgetown Law. He serves on the House Judiciary Committee, which is where this exchange took place during Patel's second consecutive day of congressional testimony. That background matters. Lieu is not the kind of politician asking broad oversight questions and hoping for a viral clip. He is someone who has spent years in rooms where the person across the table is expected to know the facts of their own case. So when Patel said he did not know something, Lieu heard that as a serious problem. He started with the basics. The FBI searched Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan residence in 2019, Patel confirmed. Among the items found was a safe. Patel said he did not have the evidence catalog in front of him. Think about that for a second. The director of the FBI is testifying about one of the most publicly discussed cases under his oversight, and he does not have the evidence catalog in front of him. Lieu pressed further. The FBI found a safe. Correct. Patel did not give a direct yes. He said he would accept Lieu's representation. Not a confirmation, not a clear answer, just a refusal to challenge the congressman's version of his own agency's evidence. Inside that safe, agents reportedly discovered photographs. Patel gave the same kind of answer. I'll accept your representation. I don't know. Lieu made the point plainly. This was not some hidden detail buried in obscurity. It had been reported at the time. The New York Times covered it on July 8, 2019. A trove of photographs had been found in a safe at Epstein's Manhattan mansion as part of the charges filed that year. This was public record, front-page news, and yet the FBI director said he did not know. That pattern of "I'll accept your representation" revealed something important before Lieu even reached his main questions. Because when the director of the FBI starts relying on a congressman to describe his own agency's evidence, it suggests one of 2 things. Either he had not reviewed the case closely enough, or he did not want to say what he knew on the record. Either way, it set the tone. And Lieu was just getting started. He then brought in Michael Wolff. Wolff is one of the most recognizable journalists in Washington, best known for Fire and Fury and for chronicling the first Trump White House. But in this context, he is important for a different reason. By his own account, he spent more time with Jeffrey Epstein than almost anyone else in the press. Wolff says he conducted about 100 hours of interviews with Epstein over several years. He has already released portions of those recordings publicly, In one of them, Epstein describes Donald Trump as his closest friend for a decade. Lieu played a clip in which Wolf described a specific moment from his time with Epstein, when Epstein supposedly went to his safe, pulled out a series of photographs, and spread them out like playing cards. Lieu paused the clip and then asked Patel a direct question. Are there any photographs showing Donald Trump with people connected to Epstein's operation? Patel said no. Lieu then asked how he knew. Patel responded that this kind of material would have been brought out by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the past 20 years. Lieu stopped him right there. That is just not true, he said. No one knew about the birthday message Trump reportedly sent Epstein until the Wall Street Journal reported it. And once it surfaced, it came from the Epstein estate, not from the FBI. Patel acknowledged the point. You raise a great point, he said. That mattered, because Patel had just made the argument that 2 decades of investigations would have surfaced anything important. Lieu then gave him an example of significant material that had not come from the FBI at all, but from outside reporting and estate disclosure. And Patel agreed. That is not the response of someone projecting complete confidence in his agency's review. It is the response of someone who just had his own argument turned back on him and chose not to fight it. Lieu then moved to the tapes. Wolf has said publicly that he holds about 100 hours of recorded interviews with Epstein. These were not secret files hidden away in a vault. They were journalist interviews conducted over several years. Wolf has already released portions publicly. Major news organizations have reported on them. In November 2024, Wolf released a recording in which Epstein described Trump as his closest friend for a decade. These tapes are not obscure. They are known, discussed, and reported on. More importantly, they represent one of the most extensive on-the-record records of Epstein's world outside the FBI's own files. Lieu asked Patel directly, has the FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff conducted with Jeffrey Epstein? Patel said he did not know. Lieu kept pressing. Would it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff? Patel said he could not say they had not already done so. He just did not know. He said he would get back to Lieu with a specific answer. That answer is hard to ignore. The director of the FBI did not know whether his own bureau had contacted the journalist holding the most extensive public interview archive of Jeffrey Epstein that exists. That is not a small gap. That is not a technicality. That is a very large unanswered question. Lieu then turned to the Epstein estate. He pointed out that the birthday message had come from the estate, not from the FBI. Then he asked whether the FBI should subpoena the estate for everything it holds. Patel said the estate was under no obligation to provide that material, even if subpoenaed. Lieu cut him off. That is just false, he said. You are the FBI. You can subpoena the information from the estate, and you should do that. Patel said that was literally not how it works. Lieu said he was moving on. That disagreement was never resolved in the time available, but the implications are obvious. If Patel was right, then the FBI had no route to obtain materials the estate had not already chosen to disclose. If Lieu was right, then that route existed all along, and the FBI had not used it. One of those two things is true. And Patel's answer, which focused on the estate having no obligation rather than on any effort to pursue the material legally, left the room without a real answer. Then Lieu closed with the client list. Patel had already confirmed in earlier testimony that a list of names connected to Epstein's operation existed. Attorney General Pam Bondi had said the same. Earlier in 2025, Bondi told reporters the list was on her desk and under review. Later, a DOJ memo said there was no client list in the way the public had imagined it. That contradiction had never been cleanly resolved. Lieu wanted to ask about 2 names. First, Prince Andrew. Patel said the material related to Prince Andrew had already been made public. Lieu asked again, is Prince Andrew on the client list? Patel responded by saying the FBI had released the index of names. Then Lieu asked about Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump on Epstein's client list? Patel said the index had been released, and the index would speak for itself. That is not an answer. It is a way around one. Lieu was not asking about the index. He was asking about 2 specific names, and whether they appear on a list the FBI director had already confirmed exists. A simple yes or no question. Twice. And twice Patel pointed back to the index, instead of answering directly. If the answer is no, that is one word. Patel never said it. Lieu closed by telling the committee that it was a significant red flag that the FBI director could not say whether Donald Trump was on the Epstein client list. Then the chair called time. 3 things stand out from those 5 minutes. Patel said photographs of the kind Wolf described do not exist. In the same exchange, he also acknowledged that the FBI did not know about the birthday message until outside reporting surfaced it. Patel said he did not know whether his bureau had contacted the journalist holding 100 hours of Epstein interviews. And Patel refused to answer yes or no when asked whether 2 specific names appear on a list he had already confirmed exists. None of that is an accusation. Those are the answers the FBI director gave under oath. What they suggest about how thoroughly the Bureau has handled the Epstein case, and about what it has or has not done with the tools available to it, is a question Lieu put on the record. The pattern across those 5 minutes was consistent. I'll accept your representation. I don't know. The index will speak for itself. Each answer technically responded to the question. None of them really answered it. And each one left the same gap between what was asked and what was said. The questions are on the record. The answers are too. And the gap between them is still there. What happened in that exchange matters for another reason too. None of Lieu's questions were speculative. He was not asking Patel to confirm internet rumors or anonymous claims floating around online. He was asking about publicly documented material, evidence already reported in major newspapers, recordings already released, and investigative steps the FBI either had taken or had not taken. That distinction matters because Patel kept answering as if the underlying information itself was still uncertain, when in reality much of it was already established in public. The safe existed. The photographs had been reported. Wolf's recordings are real and have been discussed for years. The birthday message came out through outside reporting, not FBI disclosure. None of that was disputed in the hearing. What was disputed was narrower, and in some ways even more revealing. Whether the FBI had fully pursued the material available to it, and whether the director of the Bureau was prepared to say so clearly under oath. That is where the hearing became uncomfortable for Patel. Every time Lieu narrowed the question down to something direct, Patel moved sideways instead of forward. Did the FBI subpoena the tapes? I don't know. Did the FBI contact Wolf? I can't say they didn't. Is Prince Andrew on the list? The index was released. Is Donald Trump on the list? The index will speak for itself. Those are not denials, but they are not confirmations either. They are answers designed to stay outside both categories. And in congressional testimony, people noticed that immediately, especially someone like Lieu, whose entire line of questioning was built around forcing clarity one step at a time. That is why the exchange escalated the way it did. Not because voices were raised, not because anyone lost control, but because the more direct the questions became, the less direct the answers became. By the end of those 5 minutes, the hearing was no longer just about Epstein. It had become a test of credibility. Could the FBI director clearly explain what his bureau had done, what it had reviewed, and what evidence it actually possessed in one of the most scrutinized investigations in recent memory? Patel never fully established that confidence during the exchange. And that is why those 5 minutes spread so quickly afterward. Not because they revealed a smoking gun. They did not. But because they exposed something Washington understands very well. Visible hesitation when the questions seem like they should have been simple. That is what kept resurfacing in clips, transcripts, and commentary after the hearing ended. Not one explosive revelation. A pattern. I don't know. I'll accept your representation. The index will speak for itself. 3 phrases repeated again and again around some of the most direct questions in Patel's testimony. And once those answers are on the congressional record, they stay there, no matter what comes next. There was another layer to this exchange that became clearer after the hearing ended. Patel was not testifying as a lower-level official unfamiliar with the case. He was the director of the FBI, the person ultimately responsible for the Bureau's investigative decisions and its public credibility. That changes the standard completely. When an FBI director says, "I don't know about a routine detail in an obscure case," that is one thing. But when the subject is Jeffrey Epstein, a case examined for years across multiple administrations, under intense public scrutiny, with sealed records, international attention, and constant claims of incomplete disclosure, every uncertainty carries much more weight. Lieu understood that. That is why his questions stayed focused on process. Did the FBI review the tapes? Did the FBI pursue the estate? Did the FBI verify the photographs? Did the FBI know what was in the safe? These were not abstract political questions. They were operational questions. Questions about what investigative steps had actually been taken. And Patel's answers kept circling back to what he personally did not know rather than showing confidence in what the Bureau had done. That distinction may end up mattering more than any single answer he gave. Because congressional hearings are not only about facts, they are also about perception. They are about whether the person testifying looks informed, prepared, and confident in the institution they lead. For critics of the FBI, Patel's answers reinforced the belief that important parts of the Epstein investigation were incomplete or never fully pursued. For Patel's defenders, the hearings showed something else. An FBI director refusing to speculate publicly about sensitive material he could not verify in open session. But even that defense leaves the core issue unresolved. The questions were direct. Many of the answers were not. That gap is what turned a routine oversight hearing into a nationally discussed moment within hours. Because viewers did not need to decode legal jargon. They were reacting to something much simpler. A senior official being asked straightforward questions and repeatedly declining to give straight answers. That is easy for audiences to understand, regardless of politics. And it became even more noticeable near the end of the exchange, when Lieu stopped trying to extract more detail and instead put the uncertainty itself on the record. That was the point of his red flag comment. He was no longer arguing about one document or one investigative step. He was arguing that the inability or unwillingness to answer clearly had itself become part of the story. That is a dangerous place for any FBI director to be in public, especially on a case where suspicion has already existed for years and where every unanswered question instantly creates 10 more online. By the time the chair ended the round, the exchange had created two competing narratives at once. One said the hearing exposed major unanswered questions about the Epstein investigation and showed that the FBI still could not clearly account for key pieces of evidence and testimony. The other said the hearing proved how difficult it is to discuss sensitive investigative material in public without feeding speculation beyond what the evidence can actually prove. Those two narratives are colliding right now. And the reason this hearing keeps circulating is simple. Neither side believes the exchange settled anything. If anything, it did the opposite. It reopened questions many people thought had already been answered years ago.